Prehistory in Egypt refers to the period before the development of written records, spanning from the earliest human presence in the region to the emergence of the ancient Egyptian civilization. It was during this time that the foundations for the subsequent cultural and societal developments in Egypt were laid. The earliest evidence of human habitation in Egypt dates back to around 200,000 years ago, when hunter-gatherer groups inhabited the Nile Valley. These early inhabitants relied on hunting, fishing, and gathering wild plants for their sustenance. They lived a nomadic lifestyle, moving across the landscape in search of food and resources. Around 10,000 BC, significant climatic changes occurred in the region, leading to the formation of the Sahara Desert. This process, known as desertification, forced the local populations to adapt and find alternative sources of sustenance. As the once fertile lands turned arid, people began to concentrate along the Nile River, which offered a reliable water source amidst the changing landscape. The Nile River played a crucial role in the transition from a hunter-gatherer existence to a settled agricultural society. The river provided water for irrigation, facilitating the cultivation of crops and the domestication of animals. The early inhabitants of Egypt gradually began to develop farming techniques, growing crops such as wheat and barley, and rearing livestock such as cattle, sheep, and goats. The shift from a nomadic lifestyle to settled agriculture had profound implications for the social structure and organization of these communities. Villages emerged along the Nile, and people began to form more permanent settlements. This transition led to the development of more complex social systems, as well as the establishment of trade networks and the specialization of labor. Over time, as agricultural practices improved and population grew, communities in Egypt became more sophisticated. They developed increasingly sophisticated tools and technologies, such as pottery, weaving, and the use of stone and flint for various purposes. The Neolithic period witnessed the gradual emergence of a more sedentary lifestyle, with the construction of more permanent dwellings and the establishment of rudimentary social hierarchies. It is important to note that during the prehistoric period, Egypt was not yet a unified political entity. Instead, it was divided into various regions or territories, each with its own distinct cultural characteristics and local leaders. The prehistoric era in Egypt laid the groundwork for the rise of one of the world's most enduring and influential civilizations. The knowledge and experiences gained during this time period would shape the future development of ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and governance, setting the stage for the remarkable achievements and cultural legacy that would emerge in the subsequent historical periods. As communities along the Nile River continued to develop agriculture, they began to experiment with more advanced farming techniques. They constructed irrigation systems to efficiently manage water flow and cultivate larger areas of land. This increased agricultural productivity, leading to surplus food production and the ability to support larger populations. The surplus food allowed for the growth of specialized labor, as not everyone needed to engage directly in agricultural activities. Some individuals started focusing on other crafts and trades, such as pottery making, weaving, metalworking, and construction. These specialized artisans played a vital role in the development of the prehistoric Egyptian society, as they produced goods for trade and contributed to the overall economic prosperity. The emergence of trade networks became crucial for the exchange of goods and ideas between different communities. As settlements expanded and developed distinct cultural identities, trade routes extended along the Nile River and across the surrounding regions. Valuable commodities such as minerals, precious stones, and exotic materials were exchanged, enriching the cultural and economic landscape of prehistoric Egypt. Religious and spiritual beliefs also began to take shape during this period. The natural environment, including the Nile River and the cycles of agricultural productivity, played a significant role in the religious practices of the prehistoric Egyptians. They worshipped deities associated with nature, fertility, and the forces that govern their daily lives. Artistic expressions, such as rock art and pottery decorations, provided insights into the prehistoric Egyptians' spiritual beliefs and their connection to the natural world. These early forms of artistic expression reflect the beginnings of a distinct Egyptian artistic tradition that would flourish in the later periods. The prehistoric period in Egypt came to an end with the gradual transition to the historic period, marked by the development of writing systems and the rise of the ancient Egyptian civilization. The advent of writing, around 3100 BC, brought about a significant shift in the way information was recorded and preserved, allowing for the documentation of historical events and the establishment of centralized political institutions. The prehistoric period of Egypt, although relatively lesser known due to the lack of written records, was a crucial phase in shaping the cultural, economic, and social foundations of the ancient Egyptian civilization. It laid the groundwork for the subsequent developments that would unfold in the Nile Valley, ultimately leading to one of the most remarkable and enduring civilizations in human history. During the prehistoric period in Egypt, advancements in agriculture, trade, and social organization set the stage for the rise of the ancient Egyptian civilization. The transition from a nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle to settled agriculture brought about significant changes in the way people lived and interacted with their environment. As communities grew along the Nile River, a sense of territoriality and the need for organized governance emerged. Local leaders, often referred to as chieftains, arose to manage and oversee the affairs of their respective communities. These leaders played a crucial role in maintaining order, resolving conflicts, and coordinating communal activities. The prehistoric Egyptians also developed basic systems of social hierarchy and stratification. While the extent of social differentiation during this period remains a topic of ongoing research, there is evidence of social distinctions based on wealth, occupation, and possibly ancestral lineage. Some individuals may have accumulated more resources and held higher social status due to their roles in trade, craftsmanship, or leadership positions. Religion and spirituality played an integral part in the lives of prehistoric Egyptians. They believed in the existence of spirits and deities that controlled natural phenomena and influenced their daily lives. Rituals and ceremonies were performed to seek the favor and protection of these divine forces. The construction of megalithic structures, such as Nabta Playa, in the western desert of Egypt, suggests that religious rituals and astronomical observations were closely intertwined. Artistic expressions during this period provide valuable insights into the cultural and symbolic aspects of prehistoric Egyptian life. Rock art, cave paintings, and engravings depict scenes of hunting, animals, and religious motifs. These visual representations not only showcase the artistic skills of the prehistoric Egyptians but also offer glimpses into their beliefs, daily activities, and the natural environment they inhabited. While the prehistoric period in Egypt lacked written records, the development of writing systems would become a hallmark of the subsequent historic periods. The advent of hieroglyphic writing in ancient Egypt marked a significant shift in the preservation and dissemination of knowledge, enabling the recording of historical events, religious texts, and administrative records. Writing became an essential tool for communication, governance, and the expression of cultural and religious ideas. The prehistoric period in Egypt was a formative time when the earliest inhabitants transitioned from a nomadic hunter-gatherer existence to settled agricultural communities along the Nile River. This shift brought about advancements in agriculture, trade, social organization, and religious practices. The foundations laid during this period paved the way for the rise of the ancient Egyptian civilization, which would later leave an indelible mark on human history with its magnificent architecture, complex belief systems, and cultural achievements.